so many books. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I will be doing the first book haul I've done in a little bit of time, and this one is a doozy. So I've been pretty good. I didn't buy pretty much any books in November. I was doing better, and then late November and then December I kind of crashed and burned. I bought quite a few books, and I also received quite a few books as gifts, and so it is definitely time to do a book haul. Now this is going to end up having to be split into two parts, I'm generally assuming, so I'm going to note that now, and then at some indeterminate time, I will cut and then confirm when the second part of the book haul is going to start. But we're going to start first with gifts that I received around the holidays, and we will go from there. So, first one is Foundry Side. I got this from Jake the Bookish Drummer, and I'll link all channels I mentioned down below for the record as well. And this one is been on my list for quite some time. It's kind of like, I think, like a heist book with like a magic system where you can like input basically sentience into something. The magic system, when I've heard it described, always sounds like almost a mix between Forging from Emperor's Soul and Awakening from Warbreaker from Brandon Sanderson. So this has always been something I've been interested to try. Sanderson's got a blurb right on it. Just sounded like an interesting magic system. I'd heard a lot of good things, so I was really happy to get this one. The next up from Sharon, I got The Tiger and the Wolf, which is the first book in this series whose name escapes me. But I had previously gotten, I think they're here. You probably can't really see them. But I previously got books 2 and 3 on Book Outlet, and I did not have the first one, so I was really happy to get this. Although I'm dumb and put the UK version, apparently, on my wish list, and the other two are US, so they're not the same size. But it's my fault, and also at least have the first book in a trilogy now instead of books 2 and 3, so it's still very helpful. And then also from Sharon, I got Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill, which I've been hearing a ton of buzz about in the Discord lately. Sounds like a really interesting series. It's got kind of the, the basic, like, there's all the wars going on between different empires, but then there's somebody who is getting pulled in, like a young man who's about to go through approving, like, become man, gets pulled in. But instead of, like, the classic, like, chosen one thing, I love this little line here: "There is no prophecy. His coming was not foretold. He bleeds like any man, and bleed he will." So this just sounds super cool, and I'd heard a lot about it, so I'm really, really excited for that one here as well. And then from Keikoi, who had me for the Secret Santa we did in Discord, I got The Fall by Ryan Cahill, which is a novella that takes place, I can't remember if it's before or after. I think you're supposed to read it after. But as well, that was available, so I was really happy to be able to get that. And then also Promise of Blood, the first book in the Powder Mage trilogy by Brian McCullough. Powder Mage is another series that's been on my list to read for a really long time. I've heard the second trilogy is better, but I'm still really curious to read this, which is kind of having like the Flintlock style, interesting magic. And I know that this was a student of Brandon Sanderson, so I was really interested to try it out. And it's a series I meant to get for a long time, so I was really happy to get that also. So then next up from Stacy, I got Lies of Descent, which is The Fallen Gods War Book 1 by Troy Carroll Butcher? I don't know. I'm going to go with Boucher. So this one, I'm positive somebody at some point recommended it for me, and that's why I added it to my list. I don't remember who or why it was recommended to me, so if it was you, let me know, because it's been driving me nuts. But this one sounded super interesting. This is like there's people who, there was a war of the fallen gods, and a people basically migrated to new land and like took over and created an empire, and so the native people of that land are kind of like rebelling against them, it sounds like. But there are our main characters apparently have enough like heritage from these old like gods that they have powers, and they're pulled in and forced into roles in the empire, and one of them's really pleased with it and the other one isn't, and it just sounded super interesting. And like I said, I'm positive somebody recommended it for me. I just do not remember who that was. And then also, she sent me Road Brothers by Mark Lawrence, which is a collection of short stories in the Broken Empire world following the Road Brothers. I've been wanting to read this since I read Broken Empire. It's been on my list for a long time, especially after reading Red Queen's War. It made me really want more Broken Empire content because they're in the same world and they're interconnected. So I'm really, really excited to read this. I know I saw Slowly Read do a review of this, and it sounded really cool. You get some answers and just a lot of background, so pretty excited for that one also. From Andrew, I got How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It and 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City by K.J. Parker. So these books also something, I want to read more K.J. Parker anyway. I've heard a lot of good things from Alan and others about K.J. Parker. And so I think this is supposed to like have some historical fiction type elements, but based on the names, I'm assuming there's going to be a little bit of humor in here as well. But literally what it's about, like a siege and about ruling an empire, these just sound so interesting and just sound like they'll be books that I will really enjoy. So they'd also been on my list for a while. I'm pretty sure Andrew's just trying to get me to read K.J. Parker with him, and that was his ulterior motive for getting those for me. But I am down, always can add more buddy reads, and then hate myself for having too many buddy reads. And then from Patrick, I got Malice, the first book in Faithful and Fallen, and this is the nice big US trade paperback. I have the UK paperbacks now. I have wanted to get the full-size ones for quite some time, but that kind of stuff I usually put on my wish list. That way I don't have to buy the book again because I already have them. So I have now the first one, which I'm very excited about because those will just be a lot easier to read. So next up, I actually then got the rest of the Powder Mage trilogy. So Crimson Campaign and Autumn Republic by Brian McClellan. So that works out really nicely because now I actually have the whole trilogy, and these are beefier than I thought they were going to be. These are, I think, UK size, so they're not like huge. Yeah, it's definitely smaller than the US paperback. So I have the whole trilogy now, and then I also got, those were from like family and people I know in real life, by the way. I also got the Blood and Bone trilogy by John Gwynne. Now the problem being, I'm going to see if I can put this here so you can see, they're all slightly different sizes, and I don't know why, but it's really driving me nuts. In a Time of Dread appears to be the only one that's correct, because it's the same size as Malice. Book 2 is a little smaller, Book 3 is definitely too big. So I don't know why, Orbit, why you did me dirty, but just to compare it, this is these two. And it's a little slanted, but they're the same size. So I don't know why Orbit decided they hate me, but I'm sorry for upsetting you, Orbit. But that was sad, but I'm really excited to read the series. I'll have to find a creative way to put them on the shelf so I don't get yelled at for having misshapen books. But I'm still really excited to read that. I loved Faithful and the Fallen. It's one of my top 10. And I've heard a little bit of mixed things. A lot of people really liked this, but I think now that I've had a good break from Faithful and the Fallen, jumping back in will be really nice. I'll have some of the nostalgia for it too, so I am very excited to read that. And this one's not quite the same as the others, but I did get my first ever physical arc, Lily by Daniel Barnett, and this is part of a kind of like a read-along and series of live shows I'm doing with Steve Talks About Books and stuff, and some others from his forum, and it's actually with the author Daniel Barnett. So Nightmare Land was a series that I randomly decided to pick up because Leslie and Andrew kept talking about it so much, and it sounded interesting, and I fell in love with it. I don't read horror, and it's not my thing, but I've really enjoyed this series. So I found out that there was this ongoing thing with live shows where you actually get to read each book and then talk to the others and the author, and I'm like, that is amazing. I have to get on that. And then I'm told I get a copy of the book that's still not quite out yet with this beautiful art. And plus, I told Daniel, I'm like, this is really good advertising because now I absolutely have to get physical copies because I've read all the others on Kindle, but I have this one. I gotta have the rest, naturally. But I'm so excited to get to that. I have one more before I get there, City of Blood, and then Lily, and I'm just so excited. All right, so then we're getting into things that I did buy myself, which there are plenty of. The first thing I will mention is the Winnowing Flame trilogy by Jen Williams. So that's Ninth Rain, Bitter Twins, and Poison Song. This is the buddy read that we're doing starting in January, so January through March in the Wizard They Do It Discord. We're also doing Wheel of Time starting in February, so these will overlap. But Winnowing Flame is what we decided starting in January, and so this is a series that it sounds like myself and a lot of other people had on like a list of book series we wanted to read. A lot of people already have the series as well. I got them for the buddy read. But this is like, your kind of empire following. Man, I can't talk sometimes. Your empire following, and there's a group of adventurers that get kind of pulled into the fray. And so it's one I remember being recommended by a lot of people on BookTube a while back, and then it just kind of, you stopped hearing about it. So it sounded like there were a lot of people in the same boat wanting to read this, so we decided to make this the buddy read. So I had to, of course, get all of the books. The other really cool one, I got this beautiful Lord of the Rings illustrated edition. I really wanted to get one of these when it came out, and there are several beautiful, all very expensive editions. I actually ended up getting this at Costco. And it's $45, but this is list price $75, so that was a pretty good deal, and I could not pass it up. I've not even taken it out of the plastic yet. This will probably have to join the pretty books on the pretty shelf, but that, if you saw my Christmas unboxing, is over full already. So I'll have to figure out somewhere to put it from there. So then we have a couple of, well, there's a lot of Book Outlet orders here, because I hadn't been to Book Outlet in a while, and that usually helps me with not buying too many books, because Book Outlet is my weakness, half-price books also, but Book Outlet has a lot of different stuff. So I got the War of the Archons, I'm going to say. They had books 1 and 2, so I'm always a sucker for when I can get multiple books in series. A Demon in Silver and Hangman's Gate. Now, these are pretty basic covers, but for some reason, I found them to be interesting, and so I ended up grabbing both of these, because they look cool. And so the series, or the plot basically is, there's the world where magic has completely disappeared, and then suddenly there is a girl who is discovered to have the ability to use magic, so like everyone is out to find her, to either use her or kill her. Sounded interesting. Like I said, I like the covers, so it was somewhat a cover buy. I got those ones on Book Outlet. And then Blood of an Exile by Brian Naslund. I have seen this book on Book Outlet at like probably half-price books. I've seen this book everywhere, and I've never picked it up because it looks like it's going to be a bad like romance because of the cover. I stand by that. We were randomly talking in Discord one day as people were saying like, "Oh, I thought it was going to be this like smutty romance," and no, it's actually like a really cool like dragon slaying fantasy book. And so it was this whole conversation that, oh no, apparently this is a book you can't judge on the cover. Because it is about other stuff. So the next time I saw it, I'm like, I'm just going to grab it because apparently I've heard good things now, and it's just not at all what I thought it was going to be, why I stayed away from it. Next up is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, which I'm probably mispronouncing. This one was sadly very damaged when I received it from Book Outlet, which I have had very few bad experiences with Book Outlet. I've heard other people have. Usually my books have arrived in pretty darn good condition, but this was not one of those times. So very sad about that. But this is a book I've heard a lot about, and I know it was popular. It takes place starting in Cairo, and we have a con woman who accidentally summons a djinn, and then like has to go off on this adventure and go to Daevabad, which is called the Daevabad trilogy, I believe, which is the City of Brass. And I know I'd heard a lot of people really, really love this. I know not everybody does, but it was one where I ended up finding it on Book Outlet. So especially books where I'm not sure if I find them there, I always go for it. So grab that one. All right, so we're going to cut it there. That is the end of part 1 of this book haul. Like I said, I will be doing part 2, which will be coming out 1 week from the release of this video with the rest of everything, because I didn't want to have like a half-hour video for a book haul. That seemed a little excessive, so we're splitting it up, and that will be coming out next week. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description for the Wizardly Duo Discord. If you want to chat these books, any books, or anything at all, definitely let me know in the comments as well if you read any of these or want to read any of these. Always happy to hear the comments, either in the comments or the Discord, either way. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.